Hello everyone, I'm Dalton Burdett.
I'm Ryan Warner.
And we are the Movie Nights. Well, some of them. If you're watching this, it's because you want to hear our uncensored and unfiltered thoughts and opinions about the world of movies, so kick back, grab a snack, and thank you for being part of the conversation. Ryan, how are you, my guy?
I'm good. How are you?
I am chilling. I'm just doing great. I got New Mutants tickets.
What's that mean?
That means apparently that movie's real, and I'm going to see it on the 28th of August. I'm excited.
We'll see.
I am excited.
Hey, you know what? I'm not going to take that away from you. Good for you,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you.
It's
I
not
appreciate it. If I actually see it and walk out and call you and tell you I've seen it, will you believe it's real?
No. Not until I watch it for myself and I watch the post-credit scene and it's like New Mutants coming again in 2019 and it's like, oh, they fucking forgot to cut that out.
Oh my god. But yes, welcome to back to the show, everyone. All 7 of you. We're going to go ahead and start with the movie news section of our show, just kind of kick things off.
A little bit slower of a week compared to last week.
Compared to last week, of course, yeah. But some interesting stories nonetheless.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and kick off one that I picked up from the Hollywood Reporter. Whenever my wife Holly wants to work for us.
Do you want me to go ahead and take it away?
Take it away, dude. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to butcher this name, unfortunately, but Tig Notaro is replacing Chris D'Elia in Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead movie, which is going to be a straight-to-Netflix movie, a Netflix original movie that Zack Snyder is doing.
Yes.
It is like a heist movie set in the zombie apocalypse time, which just sounds rad. Zack Snyder's doing a movie, which sounds rad.
Yeah.
But I do know that there was some controversy around Chris D'Elia. I don't know exactly.
A lot of sexual misconduct allegations. Yes.
Which is obviously not good at all.
That's a no bueno scenario.
Exactly. So good for them for replacing that actress. But what's the most interesting fact about this is that this movie is done shooting. This movie is... It's been done shooting.
Like they're close to completing VFX work on it, like post-production.
Yes.
And according to the article, they're going to use a mix of reshoots with just the new actress in a stand-in, and a mixture of like just visual effects, like on green screen, placing her in there, and some redubbing in order to make it work. But apparently they're fully committed to making it work.
Which I hope it doesn't turn out bad.
Yeah, I'm less worried in how it will look. I'm more worried about noticing that even if I didn't know that something happened, that something's off.
Like they just completely don't even look at her character or acknowledge her, but she's like, hey guys, we should go do this.
Yeah,
but and then they're like, we should go here.
Yeah, like basically, like I want to watch the movie with someone who has no idea what was going on and see if they pick up that something's weird.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, then... mission accomplished, you know. But it was I thought it was a very interesting thing. Noble of them, to get rid of someone who's problematic. And while no like charges have been filed against, while he hasn't been convicted of anything, the more allegations that came out, the more true they seemed to be. And he got dropped from a lot of things that he had coming up. Like a Netflix, speaking of, like dropped on one of his original shows they had coming out, and that turned out to be a whole mess. And, good on them for, making sure that the movie still goes on because, movies are made by more than one person. Yeah. So they wanted to make sure that the film didn't suffer because of it. And kudos to Netflix, too, for approving it happening because that it's their money.
Too,
yeah, so, kudos to them for doing that and being able to pull this off during the pandemic. I know it was supposed to come out sometime in 2020, but they never had an official release date on it. So I don't know if it will put it into 2021 or if they're going to have it still be like end December 2020.
And how big is her role going to be in the movie?
Yeah, maybe it's only a couple of scenes, who knows. But regardless, I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm curious as to how it will turn out. And honestly, good. I think it was a good call by them.
Yeah,
I think that was the right thing to do for sure.
Obviously, you don't want any troublemakers around you, especially something this serious of an allegation, So you definitely want to be able to clear all names of everyone you're working with. So good for them for dropping Chris D'Elia and bringing in someone new to replace them and get a new face in there.
Good on them. We're going to go on to our next story, which I'm also picking up from Hollywood Reporter, but I think Deadline had the exclusive on this, if I'm not mistaken. There's going to be a remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Which doesn't mean anything to me because I haven't seen the movie.
But
I know that it's well-loved.
Around Thanksgiving for classic movie reviews, we'll do it because it's like the best Thanksgiving movie ever.
Okay.
And but the stars of the remake are going to be Will Smith and Kevin Hart, which I think is rather interesting. Just having Kevin Hart be in it with any other actor, I would have been kind of worried. But the fact that it's Will Smith and Kevin Hart, Will Smith is a very serious actor. Even in his comedic bits, he takes his project seriously. And, because he's even stepped up and produced some films. Mm-hmm. And, he also has an eye for classic cinema. So I know that he's going to take this very seriously. And Kevin Hart, while it is a comedy movie, and we know that both of them can do comedic acting, Kevin Hart also showed some of his dramatic side in this movie, The Upside, that came out last year.
With Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be a great pairing. I think comedically they'll play off each other well. And one of the reasons why the original comedy worked so well is because it was also very character-driven, and it was very... it was just about a guy who wanted to get home for Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And I think that, now that I've seen Kevin Hart in a dramatic thing, because we know Will Smith can do both.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be very interesting to see, and I think that they're both going to do a very good job playing off each other as actors and, have good on-screen chemistry for this. I'm curious to see how they'll update it, because obviously, it took place in the 80s, so a lot of the, settings and problems that they had weren't problems that we were going to have now. One of them was, they couldn't call anybody because, cell phones. So, we'll see how that's going to play out. But I'm really looking forward to the movie. I think it's going to hopefully be really funny. And what are your thoughts? I mean, I know you haven't seen the original, but just the idea of Will Smith and Kevin Hart kind of tackling a classic comedy together.
It's very interesting seeing them two together. That is not a pairing I would imagine that I'd see anytime soon. Because usually whenever you see Kevin Hart, it's either him by himself or with Dwayne Johnson, which I think him and Dwayne Johnson play off of each other very, very naturally. They're hilarious together. Personally, I'm not the biggest Kevin Hart fan whenever he's by himself, but in The Upside, whenever he was getting into more dramatic acting, I was a huge fan of that because he wasn't putting on that character facade that he does.
Yeah,
his eccentric personality whenever he's doing his comedic
his Kevin
bits.
Hart-isms, yeah.
Yeah. But I think Will Smith is hilarious. I'm a Will Smith fan. So I'd like to imagine that this is going to work well, just them two bouncing off each other, because I don't think that they've worked together, have they?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I can think of or recall.
So it'll be really interesting, because the original, they're buddies and they're trying to get home together or something, or
they're not buddies. They're completely different people, but they're both stuck at the same airport, and they're both trying to get home for Thanksgiving. So it's like them just dealing with each other. Have you ever seen Due Date?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that they're going to pull it off very well. Although I wonder who's going to, because someone's going to be the Steve Martin character and someone's going to be the John Candy character. Mm-hmm. And it didn't immediately jump at me which one was going to be which. Mm-hmm. So I wonder who they're going to go with, because I think both could pull. One's the straight man and one's the funny guy. Mm-hmm. So I wonder who's going to be the one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, yeah. I think either way, these guys are funny. So we'll have to wait and see, and I hope that they bring something new to this and don't try to just completely revamp it without having some originality to it,
Yeah.
And like you said, they're going to have to update a lot of the problems that they had previously in the 80s that they don't really have now. So we'll have to see how they update everything, but it'll be fun nonetheless to watch this because, like you, I think they're both hilarious, and it'd be fun to watch them on screen together.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to move on to our next story. I'm getting this from The Wrap. I don't know who had the exclusive on it, though. Amanda Stenberg, the actress from The Hate U Give, and she was in another big movie that's leaving me at the moment, is going to join the Dear Evan Hansen film adaptation at Universal. And part of the reason why I did the story is I didn't know they were doing a Dear Evan Hansen movie, so I wanted to get a lot of the details on that, unless maybe we reported on it and just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Apparently, the film adaptation of the movie is going to feature music and lyrics from the La La Land people. Steinberg will play the role of Elena from the original stage musical. Mm-hmm. And I believe the Evan in that, Ben Platt, is expected to reprise the role as Evan Hansen. And apparently Caitlin Denver is also set up to star, another really funny actress. And it's going to be directed from the director of The Perks of Being a Wallflower is going to direct the movie.
Okay.
So naturally it's going to have that, teenage feel to the movie, that sort of naturalistic realism and with its characters. Mm-hmm. So on that level, I'm not worried at all. I've listened to the soundtrack of the musical. I've never seen it live, but it's a great soundtrack. And, from what I understand, it's an excellent production. I'm looking forward to the film adaptation, and adding talent like Amanda Stenberg is never a bad idea.
No, absolutely not.
So I think that her addition is going to make a great addition to the movie. What are your thoughts on any of this information?
So I don't know much about Dear Evan Hansen. I do know that it is the one thing I do know that it's well loved. However, the adaptation, stage to film adaptation, is not always going to work.
Yeah,
and that what worries me, because I know people who may love this will absolutely hate and despise the movie if it's bad and doesn't do it justice. But with adaptations, it's kind of like a gray area whether it'll be good or bad. It's very, very, very hit or miss, where it's like original movies, you kind of have a little bit more leniency with that. But I'm very curious to see if they're going to stay completely original to the play, or if they're going to have some like liberties that they want to take with it. Yeah. Or just the only liberty or the only similarity is the name. Maybe it's completely different.
Yeah, who knows? We don't have those details yet. Yeah.
So it'll definitely be strange to watch this and see a lot of the theater kids and people who love theater.
Yeah, because as soon as this first trailer drops, those kids are going to go nuts.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But like In the Heights, Lin-Manuel Miranda did for, I don't know if it was a Broadway play, but a play nonetheless. Yeah. I know that was well loved. And then the trailer for it, which we haven't seen the movie obviously because I got pushed back, but the trailer was jaw-dropping.
Yeah,
I think that'll make
an
excellent transition into the movie adaptation. But like most recently, I just watched The Greatest Showman, and that doesn't feel like a movie, it feels like a play. So I'm curious to see how they want to take this movie, whether it'll have like that good adaptation or if it'll just fall flat. So we'll have to see, I suppose.
Yeah. And speaking of In the Heights, our next story involves one of the actresses from In the Heights.
Oh, how fun.
You didn't even know you set up a segue.
But I did nonetheless.
Yes, In the Heights star Melissa Barrera is set to be in Scream 5, and she is the first new cast member that has been officially announced.
Right, because it's all been characters who have been in movies before.
Yes.
The word is
reoccurring characters.
Reoccurring, thank you.
It's okay. I saw it was in your head. You just couldn't get it.
It was right there.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
No, and of course I'm reporting on this because I fucking love the Scream franchise.
And we've been getting a lot of, I feel like every week we talk about Scream.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting because it makes this project feel more real as the weeks go.
Not only that, but it also shows that the people making it are excited to bring the news to us, which, if there's passion on that end, then hopefully that bleeds through the screen when it's over. But I don't believe I've seen Melissa in anything before. But the fact that, she's clearly looking like a rising star, coming off of In the Heights, we haven't seen it, but maybe some insiders have. It's clearly a done film. It's already been finished.
Yeah.
And so the fact that she's going to be in Scream, there's no details on her role, but I'm very curious as to what it's going to be. And I love when franchises introduce new characters, especially for those of you who've seen Scream 4, which I really like. I love the way they introduce new characters in that movie while also making sure the original characters got the spotlight as well. I think they balanced that very well. And I think they'll do it again in Scream 5. I'm very much so looking forward to it. And that excited me. So I just wanted to bring that up in the movie news section.
Adding talent is never a bad thing. Never a bad thing.
That's right. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next section of our show, which is classic movie reviews. What's a classic to us? That's a movie that's at least 25 years old, is in high critical standing, and has a good following of fans. Ryan, what movie did we watch?
1941's The Maltese Falcon.
Starring the great Humphrey Bogart. I'm going to go ahead and let you take this one first. By the way, this was a movie that neither of us had seen before. We finally did one of those. Yeah. So go ahead and give me your overall thoughts and a bit of a breakdown into The Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, so I will say it did start off a little bit slower than I initially thought it would be. And we didn't really see the Falcon until the end.
Yes.
But this private investigator is told that he wants to be, or someone wants to hire him to find his sister, or to find this girl's sister. And then as the movie unwinds, he slowly realizes the real reason that he was hired, and not hired to find this girl's lost sister, but really to help find this Maltese Falcon that everyone has been after since the 15th or 16th century. Yeah. That is very, very pricey, to say the least. But it's very interesting to see how this film noir just kind of unravels, and how you find out a little bit more as it goes on, and how more details are figured out. And One thing I really liked about this, because I looked it up on the IMDb trivia, and because I kind of noticed it throughout the movie. The movie is kind of shot from behind Humphrey Beauregard's shoulder.
Yeah.
That way we're watching everything unravel from his perspective, which I thought was very, very fascinating.
Yeah, and really quick, speaking to that, the only scene that he's not in is a scene where, like, one of the characters is murdered. And apparently that was put in at the studio's instance, and the intention was to have him be in every scene, because of all the murders in the movie, you only see that one. Yeah. Which felt kind of weird, and that's why. But yes, go ahead and keep going.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was very fascinating, and I really liked a lot of the blocking and the way that the shots were constructed. It has some like really good lines in it. Like I thought one of the funniest lines in it was whenever the cops are trying to like get into his apartment and like try to figure out and want to question him about the murder because they think that he murdered his partner. Yeah. And then they hear a scream from inside the apartment, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we're coming in now." And he's like, "I guess you are." Yeah. Like, I just thought that bit was so funny. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my thoughts. I really liked the movie. It was very interesting to see how the film was shot from his perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was really interesting to see. And piggybacking off of what you're saying, I really enjoyed the film as well. I think it did a good job of setting up how the Maltese Falcon may seem meaningless to us, but to these characters it seems very important, and it kind of has a presence over the film without actually seeing it, which is hard to pull off, and I think they pulled it off well. I thought Humphrey Bogart's performance was excellent. I thought pretty much every performance was great. It does a really good job of sort of unraveling the mystery and just sort of figuring out more and more as the movie goes. There are some scenes that are a bit heavy in exposition, which I thought was a bit unnecessary, especially because you had an opening crawl sort of explaining
everything about the Falcon.
So like getting it again was kind of like it didn't really make sense to me. But yeah, the only other negative I really have about the movie is some of the screenplay was a bit inconsistent, and what I mean by that is there's a scene where like he's talking with like the big honcho, leaves for a random scene where he gets accused of doing something, only to walk outside and have them be like, "The honcho wants to speak with you again." Then they go back to the same location and like pick up the conversation, and I'm like, you couldn't have just had the whole conversation a scene ago and then moved on?
Yeah, because like he was like, "Oh, like give me your answer if you want to find out about the Falcon at 5 o'clock," and then it's like, it's not like the story continues when he leaves.
Yeah, it's not like a
around.
Bunch happened. It's just this random like intermediate thing, and then he goes back. So there's a couple instances of that, but other than that, I thought the screenplay was pretty tight. The dialogue is great. There's an excellent line at the end, the stuff that dreams are made of, which really was interesting to me, especially when it shows that character's kind of motivations towards the end of the film. And I like that he didn't play like a fully nice character. He was just like this wild card, basically. Yeah. And he obviously, while he had somewhat of a moral compass, he was also very monetarily motivated, which makes sense. And they do a good job of showing that. And I think overall, it was a really good movie. I enjoyed an overwhelming majority of it. And like I said, only some script issues, but nothing to really detract from the movie all that much. Can you think of any other negatives sort of off the top of your head?
No, just really the excessive dialogue, like you pointed out, because there was times where I was just like, man, this character's still talking. Like it felt like that they could say what they needed to say in a lot, in fewer words. Yeah. And it's just really a shame that like it just kind of like lost me in some of the dialogue bits, and I was just like, can we just like move on with the story? Can we progress? Because like you said, they have that whole opening scroll talking about the Falcon and like why all these people were after it. But I did like how you said that how the Falcon like has this presence over the film, because they talk about it pretty much from like 20 minutes into the movie on. Yeah. And you don't see it until like the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. They did a good job of sort of setting that up and its, purpose and what it serves. And big spoilers, but when it's revealed that the one that they have is actually a fake, you actually feel like, oh, damn, in that moment, because they've set it up so much to that point. And also, the movie does a good job of keeping the audience on its toes. And like there are some long dialogue sequences. Suddenly, the movie will change direction, and it won't feel sudden or jarring, and it will stay interesting. It was never an uninteresting turn. Yeah. So the movie does a good job of like when you think it's going in one direction, it'll take a slight merge this way to where it's not completely crazy. It's enough to be believable, but also enough to kind of keep you guessing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, overall, I really, really like the Maltese Falcon. I'm glad that we got a chance to watch it. It's one that has been on my watch list for years and just never got around to doing it. Thanks, HBO Max. But yeah, what's going to be your overall grade on the film?
Probably 4 stars out of 5. Like, I really loved the film noir of it. I loved how everything was shot from the PI's perspective. And we really felt like we were with him in his journey because, like you said, he was in it for like every scene except for the one murder scene.
Yeah.
But 4 stars out of 5. What about you?
Gotcha. I'm going to give it an A.
Okay.
Like I said, there were a couple script issues and just, some other things that got under my skin more than normally. But, it's something that I can't ignore. But, it's still a fucking phenomenal movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, really liked Maltese Falcon, and I'm glad that we watched it.
Absolutely. That is definitely a classic.
Yes. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next thing that we have planned today. We normally on the show, because we've done the show for about 2 years, not consistent.
2 years. Wow. Not consistent.
Not consistently.
But 2 years.
We have like over the past year, but we did start in 2018 technically.
Yeah.
And something that we've done tradition is halfway through the year, we'll make a list of our top 10 movies of the year so far. And then we kind of didn't do that because COVID, and we didn't even think about it. But then I brought it up to you a couple days ago.
Well, we always do it in August, and the reason we do it in August is because typically, from this point forward, is when we see all the Oscar movies.
Yes.
Like last year, I think the earliest movie that got nominated for an Oscar was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that came out in July.
Oh, July. Yeah, you're right.
So typically around this time moving forward to the end of the year, it's all the Oscar movies. So we like to do our top 10 based on what we've seen of like typically the non-Oscar movies.
Yes. And well, these lists are going to get interesting because
these are definitely not Oscar movies. I can tell you that.
No. Some of them are streaming movies that I happen to watch, although I didn't see enough streaming. Like I still haven't seen Host on Shudder, which I hear is really excellent. I haven't seen American Pickle, which I've heard is good. I haven't seen Eurovision, Lovebirds. There's so many movies that I haven't got a chance to see yet. But I was able to rack together 10 movies and rank them in an order from worst to best. And I want you to go first. I am very curious as to what you're going to do. But go ahead and just go all the way through. Start at 10, go through 1, and just, briefly speak about the films as you get to them.
Yeah, absolutely, I will. So, this was extremely hard to make, and a lot of these movies may shock you as to how high they are ranked.
Oh, God. Okay.
Now, typically, whenever we go through these movies, I have a solid spot for these movies. 7 through 10, they're all like on the same level.
Interchangeable.
Yeah. So, number 10, I would want to say Fantasy Island. And mind you, all my movies on my list, I watched in theaters because I haven't watched any streaming movies that came out in 2020. So
that's the only reason you get a pass putting that movie on your list.
Because theaters have been shut down for 3 months and it's been awful. Probably 4 months now at this point.
Yeah. March.
Yeah. Shit. But yeah. Fantasy Island was horrible. Very fascinating concept. But just, it's horrible. But Blumhouse, I love Blumhouse movies.
So that gets in at number 10.
So that comes in at number 10, exactly. But like I said, 7 through 10 is very interchangeable. Number 9, let's just go with Birds of Prey. I think that movie is fun as hell. It's not great by any means, but it's fun. It's definitely enjoyable. If I ever want to like watch a movie and have a good time, I can always rely on Birds of Prey. I love Ewan McGregor in that. I love Margot Robbie. They're just fantastic in that movie. Number 8, The Way Back with Ben Affleck.
I share some of these, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, but it's just, God, thinking about these movies and like how nothing else has come out in theaters is really just a shame. But Ben Affleck gives a solid performance. It's Ben Affleck. We love Ben Affleck.
Yes. Ben Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms.
What?
It's a Jay and Silent Bob reference.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that one went a little over my head, but I have seen Jay and Silent Bob.
It's okay. Someone's uncultured over here.
I know. So what are we on, 8? Or no, 7.
7.
Bad Boys for Life.
I actually never saw that.
That movie is fun as hell. I can admit that. I haven't seen the other ones, but I was just like bored one day, and I was like, you know what? Let's go watch this movie. And that movie is fun. I can say that, but I definitely want to go back and watch the other ones. But I really can't speak anything on that movie. Number 6. Here we go. Getting into the nitty gritty of the fucking list. We have Sonic the Hedgehog.
Jesus Christ.
Which
6?
Dude, wait till we get further down in the list.
Okay.
Sonic the Hedgehog. This movie got a lot of controversy, and I will admit I was part of that. Like, not active on social media or anything. I wasn't bashing anyone because I think that's
true fans
absolutely
remember.
stupid. But the true fans remember what that fucking horrid nightmare-induced fuel of a fucking Sonic that they tried to put in there in the first place, which was awful.
Yeah, luckily,
but I'm glad that they went back and changed it. Yeah. And I'm actually very excited for the second movie. Like, I think the second movie will be awesome.
Luckily, we got the Snyder cut of Sonic and not the original.
Yes, correct. They finally did right by Snyder cut. That movie's awesome. It's fun. It's not fantastic, but again, just like Birds of Prey, I can put this on at any time and have a good time. Jim Carrey is absolutely fantastic, and
I'll give you that.
Jim Carrey's Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Number 5, we have The Hunt.
Not mad.
This movie came out of nowhere and has probably one of the funniest lines I've ever heard in a dark comedy.
I know the line you're talking about.
It's whenever she goes to buy cigarettes and she's like, "Oh, that'd be $6." And the girl's like, what does she say exactly? Because I don't want to mess up the line.
I don't remember the exact amount, but like she knows she's being tricked and pulls out a shotgun and points it at the lady and goes, "Cigarettes in Arkansas are only $4. You done fucked up," and then just blows her brains out.
Yeah, and it comes out of nowhere too, because I think that's the first time that's the first line she says when she's introduced.
She speaks very minimally before that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But what a great character introduction.
Yes.
That movie is bonkers. That movie's bonkers.
It was
wild.
very entertaining.
Very entertaining. Mm-hmm. Now, this is part of the list when we get into like the actual good movies that I've seen.
The top 4.
The top 4. Should be the whole top 10, but I digress.
God.
Number 4, The Call of the Wild.
Interesting.
Dude, I fucking love this movie. I remember going to theaters with Skylar and being like, "What the hell are we going to watch?" And we're like, "Oh, Call of the Wild looks cute, whatever." Yeah. That movie has a lot of fucking heart, and Harrison Ford cares about that role.
It was better than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That's true.
God damn, Harrison Ford actually caring about a role. I have never seen that before. Like, and I like that they went with the CG route with the dogs to like be able to show their expressions.
Box office didn't.
No, not at all. But you know what? Call of the Wild, you got number 4 on my spot, if that means anything. So number 3, we have Onward, the Pixar movie that came out.
Okay.
This movie has a lot of heart, and every Pixar movie always knocks it out of the park.
As soon as we saw Pixar, we're like, "Oh, here comes a good movie."
Get ready to cry. I will say I like their movies. I mean, I guess all their movies kind of dwell on family, but just because I feel like we haven't seen a movie about brothers, and I really like the message it had a lot of like D&D correlations with it, which I thought were funny and awesome. But yeah, very, very cute movie, very wholesome movie that if you ever want a good cry, definitely recommend that movie. Number 2, we have The Gentleman.
Awesome.
Fantastic movie. Huge Guy Ritchie fan. I feel like this movie also kind of came out of nowhere. And typically with January movies,
like they're going to be shit normally.
Yeah, normally. Exactly. It's kind of like, you put it the best. Like, it's like the dumping ground for Hollywood. It's like, whatever we know is going to be trash, we're going to just throw it here. But this movie genuinely surprised me with how good it is. And I love Matthew McConaughey and everything that I've seen him in. So I was going to get around to watching this, and I'm glad I was able to catch it in theaters, because this movie it's so fun. It has Guy Ritchie's DNA all over it, and this is a movie that I can watch anytime, and it only gets better with every rewatch. And then number 1, the best movie so far of the year, is Invisible Man. I was on the edge of my seat when I was watching this movie. Like, this movie genuinely scared the piss out of me at times, just how the camera would just like be on, what's her name, Elizabeth Moss? Yeah. The camera would just be on Elizabeth Moss, and then it would just kind of like drift over here and watch this side of the room, and you're like, something's up over there. Yeah. What something's afoot, there's fuckery afoot. But it was just very, very, very scary atmosphere that Lee Wynell was building with that movie. Oh yeah. And I'm so excited for him to take, what is it, Wolfman's next? I'm so excited.
Oh, me too.
So excited. But that's my that's my list so far. Hopefully, when we do this list again at the end of the year in December, we have some like quality movies on here. Otherwise, it's gonna be the same goddamn list. But what's your list, buddy? Let's see if you have any stinkers on there as well.
I actually did pretty good.
Yeah, you think so?
Because I did some good streaming movies.
Okay.
Fortunately. Number 10, it was between this and The Hunt. And when you told me that you picked The Hunt, so I'm like, all right, I'll let you take The Hunt. Mm-hmm. But I thought The Hunt was fun. But number 10 was a movie called The Photograph. And it stars Lakeith Stanfield and an actress named Issa Rae.
Okay.
It was one of the last movies I saw in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty slow and kind of boring. But their chemistry together was really well done. It was a romance film.
Mm-hmm.
And it surrounds this photograph that both of them are sort of investigating. And, pictures are worth 1,000 words, and this movie does a good job of just explaining why, and it kind of uses that to tell their story. And it was an interesting, cute little movie.
Yeah.
Just a little boring. Coming in at number 9, we have Call of the Wild.
Yes. It made an entry on
Because that
your list.
movie was super cute and super fun, and I want Harrison Ford to be my grandpa.
Absolutely.
Enough said. Coming in at number 8 is Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Like you said, fun as hell. Not perfect, mostly positive, just a bit inconsistent. But overall, I thoroughly enjoy that film. Mm-hmm. Coming in at number 7 is The Way Back, with good old Ben Affleck giving one of the best performances of his career, and Gavin O'Connor directing.
You think it's one of
the best? Yeah.
Of his whole career, really?
I do, yes. And I've seen a lot of his movies.
Wow.
But Gavin O'Connor directed it. Not my favorite one that he's directed, but I do like him as a director.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in at number 6, we have The Five Bloods, Spike Lee's Netflix original movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like Birds of Prey in a way, it is a bit inconsistent, but in terms of this movie, there are some scenes that are like Oscar caliber great. Like you're watching it and you're just like, that dude's going to get an Academy Award nomination. That dude might get one too. Like this cinematography is beautiful. But then there are scenes that just dramatically don't hold the same weight. Mm-hmm. And it consistently goes from being like top tier excellent to mediocre. And so that inconsistently drops it a bit, but overall it was a fantastic movie, and Delroy Lindo will get an Academy Award nomination. You heard it here first.
Who?
He is one of the, because it's about soldiers from Vietnam going back to look for like buried treasure. Okay. And he's one of them. And he does such a phenomenal performance. Coming in at number 5 is The King of Staten Island.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Movie that was supposed to be in theaters, but came out on VOD, starring Pete Davidson, directed by Judd Apatow. Really delightful film. It's not like a straight comedy like most of Judd Apatow's movies. It's more of a dramedy, but you're thoroughly invested in the drama. You laugh hard when it turns funny. Bill Burr is in it. I love that fucking guy. Yeah. Marissa Tomei does a great job as well. Everyone does great. Judd Apatow's direction's pretty strong. The pacing is a bit off, and the movie is about 20 minutes too long. It's longer for a dramedy. But Pete Davidson's performance, he does an excellent job, and the story remains interesting even when it goes into a more boring direction. You still are curious as to what happens. But I thought it was handled very well, and overall, I really enjoyed The King of Staten Island. Okay. So that comes in at number 5 on my list. Coming in at number 4 is Onward, the Pixar film that you just talked about. Really, really enjoyed Onward. Not top tier Pixar, but still a fantastic movie.
Absolutely.
And especially the ending just destroyed me. Love Onward. Coming in at number 3 is The Gentleman. Excellent Guy Ritchie film. Not my favorite, but it was so much fun. Like, I had such a killer time in the theater. Everyone was laughing and even cheering at some points. And I just love his style, the way he edits films together. Love The Gentleman. Such a great time.
Absolutely.
Yes. Coming in at number 2 is going to be a movie called Palm Springs. This was a Hulu movie that was, I forget which festival it premiered at, and then Hulu bought it, with Andy Samberg and, the actress's name. She's the mother on How I Met Your Mother.
No, I don't watch sitcoms. You know this.
Jesus Christ, I hate you. But really phenomenal actress, and I'm so sorry that I'm forgetting your name because you fucking watch this. But, really, really great movie. It does the Groundhog Day thing of living the same day over and over, but it took a very, very interesting spin on that idea. Okay. And I fell in love with the characters. I loved the scenario that they were in because they're stuck at a wedding over and over again for the rest of their lives. And just the way that movie used the formula to its advantage and took it in different directions than had previously been done before.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was really interesting and fascinating. And overall, the heart of the story is the characters and their story.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole movie, you're invested into what's going on. And J.K. Simmons also plays a side role, and he's fantastic in it.
Oh, we love J.K. Simmons.
Yes, we do. And coming in at number 1 is The Invisible Man. I share that sentiment. Fuck you, Nick and Kyler. That's all I'm going to say. But no, we love you guys. We just want to let you know that whack. That's all I'm going to say.
Even though film is subjective, this one is not.
No.
It's objectively good.
It is objective. And what I will say, when we talked to both of them about what they disliked about the movie, I totally understood all their points, and I'm like, okay, I can completely understand why you didn't like the movie.
They're still wrong.
No, but it is my personal favorite film of the year so far. I agree with a lot of what you said. I thought Leigh Whannell masterfully directed this film. I thought that Elizabeth Moss, phenomenal performance. I thought it did a great job with its suspension of disbelief, and I thought it did a great job modernizing that tale and taking a less sympathetic approach and more of a, this is the villain of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And also, tying in the theme of, domestic abuse, I thought was a very interesting way to bring out this story, because I think without that subplot, it would have felt rather bland.
Yeah.
Love The Invisible Man, and so far, number 1 film of the year.
If theaters remain closed, it'll probably still stay up there.
Yeah, right? Jesus, New Mutants. It's going to happen.
You think New Mutants can crack top 10?
It's got a shot. Depends on if it's good. If it's... Because, I also saw Bloodshot. That was nowhere near my fucking top 10.
That's fair.
So if New Mutants is like a Bloodshot bad, new.
Can I throw a question at you?
Yes.
When was this movie... 2 questions. When was this movie originally slated for?
April of 2018. The first trailer came out at the end of 2017.
Okay. So think about this and this alternate reality.
There's a movie list where I have to rank New Mutants in the 2018 movies. Is that what you're saying?
No. New Mutants comes out in 2018. Does bonkers numbers. Saves Fox.
Okay.
Could you imagine how great that would be? Imagine that's how good this movie is that you're about to watch, if it's real. Just if it's real. Just think about it. I mean, maybe it comes out in 2018. Maybe it saves Fox. Maybe that movie single-handedly saves Fox from being bought by Disney because it does stupid numbers. What if it takes over?
Fox was never in trouble.
What if it got bought by Disney?
Yeah.
They were in some sort of financial trouble.
No, they just won it out. You ever run a business for a long time and be like, fuck this. I'm going to give it to someone else. That's pretty much what happened.
But still, what if it rejuvenates them?
Well, now they're 20th Century Studios, so...
Which is sad to see that on the opening
But no, I think the trailers have looked good. I'm not just going because it's X-Men. I'm going because I think the movie looks good. I think it does look good.
Yeah.
And my wife is in it, so I have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Understandably.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, no. There is an alternate reality where that movie came out 2 years ago.
And made $2 billion.
The actors are going to be bringing their grandkids to the premiere.
At this point, they might as well be.
Yeah, right? Jesus. But moving on to the next section of our show, this is called Movie Hot Takes, where we pick a topic in the movie world, pick an opinion on that side of the topic, and defend it, whether it's popular or unpopular.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go ahead and get right into it.
Yeah, let me take my hot take first real quick, because you have a much more serious hot take that I want to be able to spend more time on.
Okay.
But my hot take is that... comic book movies should not be seen as comic book movies. They should be seen as movies based on their own merit. Much like earlier we were talking about how Dear Evan Hansen is going to be a film adaptation. That should be looked at, that the movie should be looked at as a movie, not as how good is this as a play. Obviously we know the play is great. Let's watch it on its own merit basis as a movie. So comic book movies should be seen as movies, and most famously The Dark Knight transcends that, because there was such an outrage that didn't get any Oscar love,
or Best Picture
love. More specifically, yes. But it's just a shame that these movies, and more specifically comic book movies, are just like, oh, it's a comic book movie, it's a theme park movie. No.
Way to drag that into it.
Yeah, right? While, yes, it is a different style of movie making, it's not just a comic book movie. Yes, they might be in a room probably as big as this that's completely covered in green and blue walls and make it look like they're in outer space. It's a different style of movie making, but it's not a comic book movie. It's a movie. If you wanted a comic book, go out, buy a comic book, read the comic book. Mm-hmm. But I think that stigma of like superhero movies and like theme park
sort
movies,
of like preconceived notion of what you're about to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be based off of its movie merits solely. It should not be based off like, oh, it's a comic book movie.
And would you also agree with other things like anime movies? Like, should they be seen as movies? Or animated movies, should they be seen as movies? And like not have any preconceived thoughts before heading into it? Do you mean...
So I think that is a little bit different because anime has a very specific style whenever you watch TV shows or anime movies. I think, yes, it's still animated, obviously, because it's not live action, but anime has a very specific style to it. So I think that has to be anime movies. If you want to encompass that into animated, I don't see a problem with that personally. But the way I see things, it's like live action movies and then animated. Okay. And then like you can get into the umbrella term of animated, like anime, because anime, like I said, is a very specific style.
Okay, but just to... devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Since you break it down as, there's live action movies and there's animated movies, how would you make the argument to somebody who's just like you, except there's a third one called superhero or comic book movies?
How would I justify like the superhero movies being live action movies?
Yes.
Well, even though they use a lot of CG and like, yes, you could argue like, oh, they're CG characters, so they have to be animated. Yes, but they're interacting with the physical world. They're interacting with like Robert Downey Jr. And yes, they superimpose Robert Downey Jr.'s face over an animated outfit. It looks real. Like the realism that they're going for, the style that they're going for is real, and it feels like it's authentic and it's live action because it is. And yes, the CG is animated, but specifically on that, it's the realism that they're going for. It's the movie that they're trying to put out there to make it feel real. They're not doing an animated movie, because if they were doing an animated movie, we'd get like Into the Spider-Verse, for example.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question?
Sort of. But basically, like if the track that your mind is on is, hey, comic movies shouldn't have this preconceived notion about them before seeing them, yet you yourself have movies where you do that. How do you convince someone who holds that distinction of comic book movies separately that yours counts and theirs doesn't?
Well, it's not that their preconceived thoughts don't count. I mean, I guess that's kind of the purpose of hot takes, but
because what I was going to say is I half agree with you, because like, you know me, I love comic book movies.
Yeah.
And I've said for years that they need to just be seen as movies and not seen as like this other thing. And the Academy in recent years has finally started to see that. You know, Logan got a Best Adapted Screenplay nomination. Black Panther got a Best Picture nomination. Joker got 11 Oscar nominations, even won a couple. So I think that notion is thankfully starting to disappear a little bit. But I would even say the same thing about animated movies, about anime movies. I think you should judge each movie based off of merit. And you said, well, anime movies are a certain style. It's like, yes, but so are comic book movies, so are action movies, so are dramas, so are comedies. Like, each one has a different style. And I think that even though they're genres, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be taken on an individual merit basis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I'm more radical with, like, how you should see each movie. And I think even animated movies, anime movies, foreign language movies, like I think all that should just be seen as the merit of the film, good or bad, yes or no, not, you know, oh, it's okay for this type of movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously each movie is made with its own style, each genre is made with its own style. And yes, I agree that there is a superhero genre in the live action world of movies. But just the stigma of like putting it down like, oh, it's good for a comic book movie. Yeah. Like, and like you said, it seems like the trend's been broken with that, with especially with Joker getting nominated for 11 Academy Awards. Yeah. But just the negative preconceived thought, like, oh, I don't like anime, so I'm not going to watch anime movies. Well, you just don't like that style doesn't mean you don't
Yeah.
like animated movies.
Yeah.
I guess it's just the preconceived negative thoughts that I don't agree with.
Yeah. I gotcha. No, and I pretty much agree with that.
Yeah.
Mine hot take is a little bit controversial, but hear me out. Something that always gets brought up in film conversation is, the need for diversity and the basically whose responsibility is that.
Mm-hmm.
And in public, a lot of the times you'll see, mobs of people get angry with actors at lacks of diversity. When, unfortunately, and while I think those people's hearts are in the right place, they want to see change, so they go after the people that they see on the screen. I think that some people don't understand the process behind making a film, and that if an actor is in a certain movie, they're just accepting a job. It's how they get paid. Like they don't have like job security. They have to go from project to project and make their living that way. Mm-hmm. And so my hot take is I don't think the call for diversity is on actors. I think it's on producers. I think it's on studios, and I think it's on directors. But I wouldn't get mad at an actor for starring in a movie that could have gone to someone of a different race, gender, color, you name it, sexual orientation, you name it. But if the actor accepts the part, don't hate the actor for it. They're just trying to get paid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there are very few actors who are in the position to turn down a role for that reason. And, that's a great moral thing to do. But now they've just lost work. Mm-hmm. And, they have to struggle to go to their next project. And I know actors make a lot of money, but not every... the big stars make a lot of money, but not every actor is a big star.
Yeah.
Some actors need that one project in order to secure their future. Mm-hmm. And the example that I'll bring up is... we brought it up on an early episode of our show with ScarJo Hansen in the movie Rub and Tug. Mm-hmm. She was going to play a transgendered person, and there were mobs of people that were angry about that. And granted, ScarJo didn't respond in the best way, but our argument at the time was, yes, should that role be played by someone who's transgendered? Absolutely. But at the same time, with the investors and how small this independent movie is going to be, if there's not a big name person in that role, it's not going to get financed because the financiers think that if Scarlett Johansson doesn't play that character, then that movie doesn't need to happen and they're not going to make their money back.
Yeah.
And we even said back then, this was 2 years ago, I'd be surprised this movie even happens now. And we're in 2020 and there hasn't been a single casting announcement. There hasn't been any movement on that project at all because people don't want to give their money to something that they don't think will be successful. Now, is it wrong that they don't think it will be successful with a transgender person? Yes. Just now in 2018, we got Black Panther. Mm-hmm. We had Blade before that and some other African-American superhero movies, but studios didn't get the confidence to do that until 2018, which seems silly, but the only color they really care about is green. If they don't think or know for sure that it will make them money, they will not make that decision. Mm-hmm. So when actors take these roles, I don't know her, but I think when Scarlett Johansson took that role, part of the reason why she was taking that role is because she was like, oh, it's going to bring a light to this community. I'm going to use my platform to spread the message of the struggles of people in the transgender community, and I get to do that as an actress, and I get to challenge myself, and it's going to be really interesting and fascinating for everybody. But instead, she was kind of just bullied out of the role. Mm-hmm. And I think that's wrong. Now, I do think that, actors should be given opportunities of their same sexual orientation, race, gender, all of that. But at the same time, I'll use Brokeback Mountain as an example. Neither Jake Gyllenhaal or Heath Ledger are gay, but they brought light to, what it was like to be like a homosexual in America in 2005. And because of that platform, because they were able to do that, they were able to, reach out on a mass scale to audiences who didn't really understand that problem before. And now you can have movies with, LGBT leads because movies like Brokeback Mountain paved the way for it. And, in the perfect world, transgender people play transgender roles, gay people play gay roles, always. But we're not in a perfect world, and I think how we get there is by having stars use their platform to open the light to the rest of the world into that problem, into that subject, so that more people can learn and grow from it. I don't think it's on the actor for diversity because they wanted a paycheck and accepted a job. I think it's on the directors and the studios to make sure that they're hiring the adequate people to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I also want to throw in there are some exceptions. like, if you should never play somebody of a different race.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible, especially because, the original uses of like blackface, for example, in the past were specifically done to not give black actors roles, and the white actors playing the black actors were doing so in a stereotype basis, really putting them down, and it really promoted a bunch of horrible things. So the connotation immediately should prevent anyone from doing so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a big asterisk to what I previously mentioned. And obviously there are roles where it's wrong for you to take it, or this isn't who I am, but I am an actor, so I need to make sure that this gets brought into the light. There's a time and a place for it, and there are some exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, in a broad, general sense, it shouldn't be on actors to make that happen. It should be on the studios and the filmmakers.
I agree 100% with you. Now, I think whenever I do want to change a little bit of your wording, because you said it and then you kind of fixed it later, but I don't think actors take roles like that just for the paycheck. I think like ScarJo, for example, like you said, she would take it to help get that message out there.
Yeah.
And I would hope that any actor who takes any kind of role like that would do it with the positive intention of getting that positive light out there.
Yes.
So like I agree with you. I just wanted to like change your wording just a little bit because in the beginning, I think you just missaid it on how you wanted to say it, but like like I said, you said it perfectly with ScarJo. Like, you don't know her personally. I don't know her. She'll never watch this. She doesn't know we exist.
No,
but she probably took that role with the intention of like shedding light on it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's been 2 years and we haven't heard another thing about that movie, which is a shame.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's on the actors to answer like, oh, why'd you take this role? Like, you're taking a job away from a transgendered person.
And listen, there are plenty of transgender people who could play that role.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, investors won't greenlight the project. And I'm not saying that the movie wouldn't be successful with a transgender role. I'm saying they don't think it would be.
Yeah.
And until we do some projects to change their minds, that won't happen. But we're only going to get those projects from directors and studios who make it happen.
And all it is the old whites in Hollywood.
Yep.
They're the ones making the decisions. They're the ones who hired ScarJo, and they saw her as like a real person that could get this project going. Once they saw the backlash against it, they're like, well, it's probably going to be too risky to make the movie now.
Mm-hmm. They took the wrong message from it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't get mad at people being upset with ScarJo being cast, because their heart was in the right place.
Yeah.
I
agree. Transgendered people should have roles in Hollywood for transgendered characters.
Absolutely.
I agree 100% with you. But it's just going to take time to get there.
Yeah.
And I think people's hearts are in the right place. They're just going after the wrong people.
Yeah.
Because it's not like ScarJo made that movie. It's not like she wrote herself in that character.
Yeah.
Like, they just need to be able to see that she is just actors are freelance workers.
Yeah.
That's all they are. Freelance workers. And hopefully her heart was in the right place when she accepted that role. She was like, hopefully she was thinking like, you know what, this is a very topical issue that we need to shed light on. With me being in this role, I mean, it may sound a little boasty, but ScarJo is a big name.
Yeah. And
She's
2 years ago,
what?
Infinity War was about to come out.
Exactly.
She was at the height of her stardom.
Yep. So she's just like, you know what? With my name attached to this will definitely draw people out there. And unfortunately, we haven't heard another thing about that movie.
Yeah, that's a real shame. But yeah, that was my hot take.
Yeah, and I think it's a very important issue because people's hearts are in the right place, like you said. They're just going after the wrong people.
Yeah,
because it's the producers, it's the directors, it's the studios who are in Hollywood making the movies, casting the people, not necessarily like. I would say you only go after the actor if their heart's not in it.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, I would go after the actor if they are consistently seeking out roles that should not go to them. You know what I mean?
Like purposely taking jobs away.
Yeah, like if they're like, oh, no, I think I should play that role, not you. I think that's where you get a little muddled there.
Okay.
But overwhelming majority of the time, if the actor wants to do their part, it shouldn't be their fault. It shouldn't be on them to make it happen. It should be on the people who hired them.
Yeah, and most recently it happened again with Halle Berry.
Yes.
I can't remember what movie it was, but
very similar scenario.
Very similar scenario. And she did come out and she apologized.
Yeah, but now I don't think that movie is going to happen now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll have to see. Hopefully it does happen, but I mean, it's not going to look good because, like, with Robin Tugg, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. So now we're going to move on to the final section of our show, which is going to be Franchise Spotlight. What is Franchise Spotlight? That is when Ryan and I watch every single movie in a franchise, break it down movie by movie, and talk about them here on the show. But with franchises more than 5 movies, we like to break it up into bits. And we tackled a big fucking franchise this time.
That was recommended to us.
It was.
Yippee!
Yes, by more than one person. So, Ryan, what franchise are we tackling now?
We are doing the critically acclaimed XMen franchise.
Oh, yes. And how we're going to break it up, because we discussed different ways we should break it up. Like, we're like, should we do one trilogy, then this trilogy, and then these extra movies, or should we? And then we decided, you know what? Chronological.
Yep.
We're just going to do it in the order that they were released.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start with the first 3 X-Men films: X-Men, X2, X-Men United, and X-Men: The Last Stand. And by chronological, we mean by release date, not by the order of the story.
Because they're all continuity, schmontinuity.
Oh, which we will get into with Fox here in a minute. But, I'm going to go ahead and start with the first X-Men.
Yeah, absolutely.
This film came out in 2000. This film was credited with kicking off the age that we're still in of just like the superhero comic book movie kind of taking over Hollywood and being the event films to see. We did have a couple movies before this, like Blade came out before this, but it didn't really market itself as a comic book movie, where X-Men was all in on, like, based on the Marvel comic,
Yeah.
And Charles Roven, who produced Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and works over at Warner Brothers, credits this movie for a mass greenlighting of comic book projects across Hollywood, and he credits the opening scene of Magneto as a child in Auschwitz,
which is haunting.
It's horrifying. This comic book sci-fi movie opens with a child in the Holocaust being taken away from his family, and in his rage discovers he has the ability to bend metal as he shuts the gates down. And it sets like you in like it's an attention getter, as Sheriff Buford T. Justice would say, and it really, really gets you into the style of the movie.
Yeah.
The movie's very stylistic. Some of it doesn't age all that well in terms of just, visual effects and storytelling, but I think a lot of it's pretty solid. It introduces us to fucking Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, which is one of the most iconic performances ever.
That he'll have the longest reigning, what is it? Like he has a Guinness World Record for
for the number of years,
Yeah, which is nuts.
It's crazy. And also, but, the casting all around was fucking top notch. You have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, you have Patrick Stewart as Professor X, Ian McKellen as Magneto, Famke Jensen as Jean Grey, James Marsden as Cyclops.
Rip.
And Anna Paquin as Rogue, and I'm Halle Berry as Storm, tons of people. And, it introduces the X-Mansion, and what really kind of, I think, sets this movie above from, like, a typical, like, stereotype, not great comic book movie is it has this backdrop of mutant rights. Because, like, the comic books are very much based on civil rights, and in the updated movie, which, like I said, came out in 2000, this was more centered around the gay rights area of, should people be registered as mutants? Should we make people say if they're a mutant, if they know they're a mutant? And, like, that sort of legal battle brought into it, because then you have the clashing ideologies of Magneto and Xavier, where one of them is more like, hey, we should work peacefully with humans, and we should just learn to coexist. And you have Magneto, who was like, nah, fuck them humans. They treated us like shit for years. I was in the Holocaust. I've seen how bad humans can be, and I'm not fucking dealing with it anymore. And for that reason, he's one of my favorite villains ever. Love Magneto. But as the story plans out, as you get introduced to the world and these characters, you really are all into this story, even though they made them wear all black leather and not their bitchin' outfits, which was annoying.
The yellow, yeah.
Yeah, but I've kind of went on about the first X-Men movie. I thoroughly enjoy X-Men. I think it's a great movie. But go ahead and you dive into your thoughts on the very first X-Men film as well.
Yeah, I loved the opening shot at the Holocaust. I mean, I loved it for the aspect that it drew you in immediately and was like, this is a comic book movie, but it has serious implications. And just how he discovered his powers is just... like, it's terrifying, and it's, like, tear-jerking. Like, he's literally being pulled away from his mother.
Yeah.
And, like it's It's fascinating to see like how that rage and like that kind of emotion was able to draw out his powers, and then like you said, how he was able to see like the dark side of humanity, and that's why he wanted to be like, mutants are so much better, and like promote mutants being better than humans.
Yeah, and something else about this movie, like you hit the nail on the head with like showing people's powers and their emotions. You get some people with cool powers like Wolverine who can heal and get knives out of his hands, but then you have people like Rogue who are in the comic she's cooler, but in the context of the film, something I liked is like she hates her power because when she touches somebody, it just kills them.
Yeah,
it helps, like it takes whatever she touches and like helps her out, but she can't touch anybody. Yeah. And so you have like that emotion of just like, all of you are celebrating your shit, but I can't touch people, and it's like,
especially
that dynamic was interesting.
Yeah, because then she'll like later on realize that she'll just never be able to have a family, and it's so sad. And they play on those themes and feelings a lot because their powers are who they are, and there's still people with these powers, whether they like their powers or not. And it's just fascinating to watch these characters like unravel throughout these movies. And throughout all the movies, I love the pissing contest between Wolverine and Cyclops over Jean Grey. It's the fucking funniest thing. There's 2 great moments in the movie where, because like Wolverine, because the movie starts and Jean Grey and Cyclops are a thing, but Wolverine tries to get in the middle of it because he likes Jean. And there's a great scene where like Wolverine's talking to Jean and Cyclops interrupts and Jean leaves. And Wolverine's like, "You gonna tell me to stay away from your girl?" And he goes, "Well, if I had to do that, she wouldn't be my girl. But hey, Logan, stay away from my girl." It's a great scene. But just the rivalry between them.
But the best one though is at the end of the movie when Mystique is, awesome character by the way, and like Mystique is becoming each X-Men member, and like she became Wolverine at one point, and Wolverine takes her out, and then the real Wolverine steps in, and they all like are on edge. You're like, "Are you Mystique?" And he goes, "It's really me, I swear." And Cyclops goes, "Prove it." And Wolverine goes, "You're a dick." And he goes, "Okay."
That's Wolverine.
So such good stuff there. Is it cool with you if we move on to
absolutely.
X2?
Yeah.
X2 is one of the greatest fucking comic book movies ever made. I fucking love X2. Oh my god. Such a fantastic movie. Where to even begin? They apprehend Magneto at the end of the first film, so now he's in like this plastic prison, which is just awesome. And you learn more about Wolverine going to try and figure out more about his past because he has amnesia, he doesn't remember anything. And Jean Grey's starting to get the fritz, the glitchies. Yeah. And, something's going on. And then a character gets introduced named William Stryker, who you find out in the movie is the person who created Wolverine, not his mutant ability to heal and have bone claws, but the one who put the adamantium on him and the one who wiped his memory. Yep. Like the person he's been looking for the answers is right there. And he is there to just fuck mutants up. But unlike Magneto, he actually has the government power to make it happen. And he kidnaps mutants and brainwashes them to do bad things so that the president can allow him to take out mutants. And you get the amazing opening scene with a Nightcrawler at the White House. Holy shit. First of all,
what a rad opening.
Yeah, and first of all, Nightcrawler, what a badass.
Badass
and
character.
Such a great performance by Alan Cumming. And just that whole sequence, and how, like, even for 2003, it looks flawless.
That was like a one-shot too, wasn't it?
Pretty much. Yeah. It looks flawless, and it is such a well-done sequence. And the story of, or even Magneto like goes to Xavier and was like, "Yo, fuck the Stryker guy. Let's put our shit aside and handle this. Like this is bad right here."
Yeah,
that was all great. You finally get Wolverine a little less tamed. He fucking screams really loud and fucking stabs the dude through the fridge. That is my first theater memory of people clapping mid-movie.
Really?
Was Wolverine stabbing that fucker in the fridge. I was 6 or 7.
Wow.
It was awesome. Awesome. Eventually we get to Logan, but we'll get there. But
oh god, what a good movie. I can't wait to revisit that one.
Yeah. And then, you get, Cyclops gets kidnapped and has to fight Jean Grey. You get tons of awesome sequences. Emotionally, it's the most resonant. There's a great scene where Iceman, I fucking love Iceman, but when Iceman comes out as a mutant to his parents, and the way the scene's constructed is so well done. You get Pyro going with Magneto at the end.
That scene specifically like has a lot of real world connections to it, because like you said, like him coming out as a mutant is very similar to like
Kid's coming out as gay.
Exactly.
And you even get the parent saying, have you ever tried not being a mutant? Like, just shit like that.
Yeah.
And just the way
like
they're
it tackles real world themes.
It does.
Right there that like, it's nothing I'll ever be able to connect to personally, and nothing you'll be able to connect to, but like something being able to watch on screen and like watch how horrible that is, like really makes you sympathetic.
Yeah.
So like I just think that the real world themes that they tackled in that movie is fantastic.
Yeah, and then you get rad shit like Storm flying the helicopter and then using tornadoes to take out the other jets, and then when they fire a hole in it, Rogue gets flown out of the plane, so Nightcrawler fucking snatches her. God, I love...
Nightcrawler's so badass.
Love this movie. I'll let you talk about it a little bit more, because I've kind of just, it for like 5 minutes. But go ahead and talk about
these movies. Go
talk
ahead,
about X2, X-Men United.
Yeah, so I just want to bounce back to, like I was saying, like the real world themes that they have in these movies. Like, they're not just superhero movies. Like I was saying, they transcend that. Yeah. But Nightcrawler, that opening shot was badass. Like, it tells you everything you need to know about Nightcrawler with no dialogue. On his part, and I'm go ahead, dude, go ahead.
But I love his character, how he's like the Catholic guilt, and how he's just wants to do right so badly, and then he feels so bad for being brainwashed. It's heartbreaking. Go ahead.
It is.
I will interrupt you constantly.
Yeah, man, go ahead. I know that these definitely strike a chord with you, looking at all the X-Men.
Yeah, you can't see it, but I have an entire wall of X-Men shit over there.
Have, 2, 4, 5, 6 things on the wall. That's it. Yeah.
For now. We'll get more.
For now. But yeah, that opening shot is honestly like one of the best openings I've ever seen. I can't get enough of that. And just like you said, how Storm was like taking out those helicopters and Nightcrawler like pops in, pops out. Like that shit is just so cool. It's so cool, and I can't wait to like. I recently just watched these movies for the first time within the past year, 2 years with you actually. So I can't wait to see like younger Nightcrawler, because like he does even cooler shit. But talking about this movie specifically, I love that like how Magneto's in that plastic prison, and like how he was able to break out. Like that shit
fucking
is
rips
so
the iron out of the dude.
It's so fucking
awesome.
cool. Because like he's in a plastic prison because he bends metal, but iron people's blood.
They found a way to get out.
Yeah, and that's a very smart way to resolve your problem in a script, from a script
because they had
standpoint.
Mystique like pump the guard full of it so that he would have the extra.
Like it's such a smart way to show that. Like
very, very
transcends the phrase comic book hero.
And then you have the ending, which would lead up into the Dark Phoenix saga from the comics, where Jean Grey gives her life to save the rest of the X-Men, and then you see the outline of the Phoenix in the water. And then you get X-Men The Last Stand.
The most accurate.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Of all of them.
No. Not a great film. Very disappointing end to the original X-Men trilogy. It's not all bad, though. For example, you get Kelsey Grammer as Beast, who was fucking delightful. Love Kelsey Grammer as Beast. So awesome.
Can't get enough of him.
The end battle is pretty cool. For the most part, like the Brotherhood of Mutants versus the X-Men. Very cool. Not much else is great. The dialogue, shit. The way it handles Dark Phoenix while also trying to do the Cure storyline, shit. The way that it legit just has... Oh my god, there's one moment in this movie that pisses me off so much.
Cyclops?
No. Oh, that did, though. But there's a moment in this movie where Magneto... one of my favorite characters ever in anything, who loves mutants more than anything. And he wants mutants to rule the world. Like, that's how much he loves mutants. And that's how he attracts people, is like by showing like no one cares about you, but I do. When they're in the final battle, a bunch of mutants run at the X-Men and like the military. And then as someone, like a bigger character, goes to run to, Magneto stops them and says, "In chess, you let the pawns go first," implying that we're going to let those people die. And I'm just like, Magneto would never fucking do that about mutants. Ever. He would love. He would care about and protect each person he recruits. Like, that is who that character is. Not just, that ekes me to no end. Although he did get to flip some cool semi-trucks and shit, so I guess that counts.
And we got the Juggernaut, bitch.
Oh my god, why'd you remind me of that? They kill Cyclops pretty much off screen, right away. And
like in the first 10 minutes, too.
And they killed Xavier in a really fucking stupid way.
Oh my god, in the house, like at the at Jean Grey's house.
Yeah. And like, okay, here's the thing.
He dies, what, halfway through, I think?
Yeah, here's the thing. If you're going to kill characters, that's fine. Not the only time Xavier's died in this franchise. The other time he died, handled perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't make me upset at all. There was no wrap-up to his story or his arc at all when he was killed.
It's just out of the blue.
3. Yeah, and Cyclops even worse. Famke Janssen tried really hard as Jean Grey, Dark Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I'm not upset with her. She, you know, and it was very heartbreaking with Wolverine because he's the only one that can heal as he goes towards her, and he has to kill her because he loves her, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Juggernaut, bitch.
With him just stampeding, and who does he goes after Stryker's son.
No, he goes after the person who is the cure for the mutants.
Oh, right.
And Ellen Page's Kitty Pryde.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic addition to the movie, I will add. She's great. Is protecting him.
Yeah, right. And then they're running through the walls and...
Yeah.
Good thing we got another Juggernaut.
Yes, which we'll get to eventually.
Yeah.
But, not a fun movie. Not a good movie.
No, it feels like that they're trying to... They have too much on their plate, and they don't know how to handle this movie. Yeah. Like, there's too many storylines that they're trying to control and do. And it's like...
And they also they tried to be rad. Like, oh, let's just put it in this scene because it would be cool, even though it...
Like, let's fucking kill Professor X because it would be cool for shock factor.
Or let's cure Mystique and then have Magneto abandon Mystique.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. This movie. But, yeah, it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. There's some merit to it still. But it is not good. It is especially not as good as the first two.
I have a sneaking suspicion on what's going to be at the bottom of your list when we wrap up this franchise.
I don't know if this is last. But it's low. Let me tell you. Dude, the X-Men movies, there are some that are like the peak of comic book movies, and there are some that are like, oh my god, that's why they didn't make them for 30 years. So we'll get there for sure.
Yeah.
But go ahead and we won't rank them till the very, very end. But go ahead and give me some grades on the original X-Men trilogy. Oh, and talk about X-Men 3. I totally didn't even.
Dude, I try to block that memory, even though we just recently rewatched. Like, I try to block that memory, that movie from my memory. You hit pretty much every fucking chord that I could think of on this movie. Like, the Juggernaut is awful. It feels so out of place, and that whole character is just clunky. Is the best way to describe him. Dumb, clunky, big man, break shit. Like, that's kind of how I see him. Cyclops, they kill in the first 10 minutes. I remember watching this movie for the first time with you and being like, what the fuck? They just killed Cyclops? Like, he was such a big character in the first two movies.
Yeah.
And then, also watching it for the first time, I remember whenever they killed Professor X, like, Jean Grey is like... tweaking out and like about to like go Phoenix mode, or their version of the Phoenix. And I remember audibly saying like, are they really just gonna kill Professor X right now? And they did, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? We're like halfway through this movie. Like, he didn't do anything. Like, he was just like, Jean, it's okay, you know me, calm down, we love you. And like, she like loses her shit, and it's just like...
And, like, to give you more of an idea of how bad the dialogue is in this movie, like, if you didn't already get it from I'm the Juggernaut, bitch...
Which is an actual line.
Yeah. There's a scene where I think it's Mystique who's trapped in, like, a truck taking a bunch of mutants somewhere, and she keeps transforming into other people and mocking the security guard. And the security guard just pulls out pepper spray and goes, keep it up, I'll spray you in the face, bitch. And I'm like... What? Yeah, that
Such
movie.
A bad movie, but
yeah.
Yeah, so ranking, so
not
ranking, but like the grades, yeah. So for the first X-Men, 4 stars out of 5, X2 4.5 stars out of 5, and then critically acclaimed X3 would be 2 stars out of 5. What
Not
about
bad.
you?
X-Men gets an A-.
Okay.
X2 gets an A+.
Oh.
X3 gets a C-.
Oh, a C-. Wow. Yeah. Not even like a... I was expecting a D.
Just for Beast.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just for Kelsey Grammer's Beast.
That's fair.
But yeah, no, there are other reasons, but yeah. There's some rad shit. Like full-on Iceman versus full-on Pyro. Like, okay. You got my attention, movie.
Is that what it takes?
I'm a man of simple pleasures.
That's fair.
If you're not going to have a good story, have something be cool.
Do some cool shit in your movie.
I like Armageddon. That movie story's complete garbage. But, I think that's going to pretty much do it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find us on Facebook at Movie Nights, at Instagram and Twitter at Nights_movie, youtube.com/c/movie nights. Subscribe if you're audio only, and if you're watching video but you would rather listen to audio only, we are on pretty much every podcasting app of choice. Just go ahead and find us, the Movie Nights Podcast. And thanks for everything, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.